Welcome to the channel. Thanks for being here. I'm Nero. Battle-ready decks. Deck number 3. Human Wave. There are 7 decks in total that we've seen so far. This is the 3rd video in this installment on Human Wave. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Before we do, full disclosure, I am a member of the Cards Contributor Program. I am not, however, paid in any way, nor receive compensation from, nor am I endorsed by 1939 Games. My opinions and thoughts are my own. Human Wave. In the community, this is usually referred to as the Tokens deck. It is a aggressive light infantry, Soviet main nation, U.S. ally nation deck. We'll go ahead and look at the cards real quick, and then we'll get into some gameplay. Duress, you got 2 copies of Duress, suppressing a target unit, removing guards, essentially, or other problem units. 3 copies of Red Dawn, which you can either take 3 damage to your own headquarters for 1 credit and deal 3 damage to another unit, or you can use the From the People option, which is 3 credits that you'll have to pay. 1 credit for Red Dawn, 3 credits for From the People, and do 3 damage to a unit. 2 copies of Bloody Sickle, does 1 damage to a unit and draws a card. 4 copies of Reserves, which is key. Most of this is kind of a tribal aggro type of deck, so everything is focused on the light infantry units. It's going to use or deploy a go wide strategy, so you want to flood the board with infantry units and then buff them up with other cards. 4 copies of Reserves. When you play it, it adds 2 light infantry to your hand, plus 1 for each previously played Reserves. So if you play the first one, you get 2. You play Reserves again, you get 3, then 4, then 5. 321st Rifles. It is an infantry unit, not light infantry, but when it's destroyed, it adds a 1/1 light infantry unit to the support line. 329th Engineering Battalion. 329th Engineer Battalion, one of the elites that are in the deck. Excellent card. It's an 0/4. It's got smoke screen, not guard, just smoke screen. When another friendly unit is destroyed, your HQ gains +2 defense. Some people run this card, some don't. Some think it's more of a control card. I do think that it fits the deck theme, because when you're playing the light infantry deck, it's typically wave after wave of light infantry. So there's a lot of combat that is going on as an aggressive deck. You're gaining 2 life every time one of those units die. Deep Operation. Add 2 light infantry unit to your hand. Then give all light infantry unit in hand Blitz. So if you play Reserves first, and let's say you have 2 light infantry unit in hand, and then you play Deep Operation and get 2 light infantry units, that's 4 light infantry units in total. The light infantry in your hand will have Blitz. Line of Engagement, great card. It's a recent addition from Winter Warfare. Add 2 light infantry units to the battlefield, 1 in the front line if possible. Close Combat's a great finisher. Friendly infantry units, whether in support line or front line, get +3 attack until end of turn. So if you have 5 infantry in the front, each one is, let's say they're not buffed, each one is doing 1 damage. It's 1 for each, that's 5, and then 3 times 5 off close combat, it would deal 20 damage and win the game if your opponent's life total was 20 or less. Frontal Assault is going to go ahead and buff your infantry units that are in play. If you don't have light infantry in play, it adds 2 copies to your hand. Unity as Strength is going to take 1 of those light infantry units and buff it +1/+1 for each infantry on the battlefield. So rather than buffing the battlefield as a whole with all your light infantry units, 1 of those units is going to get super buffed, so to speak. They can get rather large. Industrial Might is to draw cards. It's usually played later on in the game. You draw a card for each unit you have deployed or added this turn for 2 credits. You can draw a lot of cards off of that depending on what point in the game that you are. 503rd Motors. It's kind of the lord of the deck. It's going to give all of your light infantry units +1/+1, so it buffs all of your light infantry. and it is guard as well. 52k, 2 copies of that. Deal 4 damage to a target enemy air unit upon deployment. 67th Baranovichì, super strong card. It used to be that if 67th Baranovichì was in play, every light infantry unit that you played had the Alpine effect. So if you played Baranovichì as is with no light infantry on board, your next infantry is a 2-2, the next is a 3-3, so on and so forth. Now, with the recent buff to itself from the recent patch, Baranovichì also gets buffed by light infantry, including when it comes into play and what it has on the board. The Alliance, another mass buff effect. Give all your non-USA units +2/+2. Workers unite for a draw card, discarding light infantry units, gaining a credit and drawing a card for each. Very, very late game. Usually you have a bunch of units already on board and you have light infantry in hand. It's a great way to discard that and look for other things that you might need. And lastly, another elite 122nd KORSUN. Excellent elite, costs one less to play for each unit that you have on the battlefield. So it's 6 credit if it's by itself. If you have 5 or 6 on board, it's 0 to 1 credit to play a 5/7 guard unit. So 2 elites in the deck. This is the closest of all the decks so far to being as far as the most optimal version that's played. This is the closest to having the optimal cards for that deck. What would be missing in it? You can go up to 4 bloody sickles if you want. Mainly you would have an extra copy of Deep Operation. Line of engagement is full. You'll have a second copy of Close Combat that you'll work to. Maybe a third copy of Unity of Strength. 503rd Motors for sure. You'd want the third copy of that as well. Other cards that are in there, you can mix and match, but mainly the 503rd Motors and the second Close Combat is what you would be looking to obtain, as well as 1 more Deep Operation. Very easy to get the most optimized version of this deck out. Gameplay footage will be provided by fellow cards contributor, program member Bear Gardner, so very much appreciate his efforts. A link to his YouTube channel and Twitch account will be in the description. Thank you for being here. Stay safe and be well.